The morning began like any other on Good Morning America, with chirpy hosts, scripted laughs, and a cheery opening jingle. But behind the scenes, tension was already brewing. Blake Shelton, invited to promote his new album and upcoming tour, had just arrived backstage, and something was off. The Oklahoma-born country star, usually relaxed and good-humored, was visibly tense. His publicist was pacing with a clenched jaw, and Blake had reportedly requested the interview be kept light and music-focused. But George Stephanopoulos, the political heavyweight turned morning anchor, had other plans. Sources close to the production said George had pushed for a more meaningful segment, one that would address Blake's recent controversial remarks about the music industry and his indirect shots at coastal elites. It was the kind of moment producers dreamed of a culture clash on live TV, but no one could predict just how explosive it would get. Asterisk, as the cameras rolled, the first few minutes were cordial. Robin Roberts opened the segment with a soft lob. "Blake, it's been a whirlwind year for you. Tell us about this new record." Blake smiled, gave his rehearsed soundbite, and the crowd clapped politely. But then George took the reins, his tone subtly shifting. "You've made headlines not just for your music," he began, "but also for comments that critics say alienate a huge portion of your audience. Do you regret any of that?" The room chilled. Blake's smile stiffened. "I'm a country singer, George, not a politician," he replied. "People come to my shows to forget the noise." George pressed harder. "But doesn't that position you as someone avoiding real conversations? Some say that's irresponsible when you have such a massive platform." At that, Blake's demeanor cracked. He leaned forward, eyes narrowed. "You're twisting my words, man," he snapped. "I didn't come here to be lectured." Asterisk, the tension was now impossible to ignore. Robin tried to pivot. "Let's talk about the tour," she offered, her voice a lifeline tossed into choppy waters. But George wasn't done. "I just think we owe it to viewers to hold public figures accountable," he said, "whether they're politicians or performers." Blake's chair scraped the studio floor as he shifted aggressively. "Hold me accountable for what? Singing songs about heartbreak and tractors?" he fired back. A nervous chuckle erupted from the live audience, not out of humor, but discomfort. George continued, undeterred. "You also made a comment on your podcast that media types live in a bubble and hate middle America. Do you believe that includes me?" Blake blinked hard, incredulous. "If the boot fits," he muttered, drawing audible gasps. Producers in the control room reportedly froze. Robin placed her hand on George's arm in an unspoken plea to stop, but it was too late. The interview had derailed. Asterisk, suddenly, Blake stood up. The cameras scrambled to keep him in frame. "You know what? I'm out," he said, removing his mic and tossing it on the table. "I agreed to talk music, not get baited into some political pissing match." Robin tried to calm him. "Blake, please," but he was already walking off, jaw tight, fists clenched. Crew members chased after him while the studio went silent. George, stunned but not apologetic, turned back to the camera. "Well, that was unexpected," he said coolly. ABC quickly cut to commercial. Social media, however, exploded within seconds. Hashtag Blake Shelton walks out trended globally in under 10 minutes. Clips of the confrontation were posted, reposted, and dissected by every talk show, reaction channel, and entertainment blog in existence. Some praised Blake for standing his ground. Others accused him of overreacting and dodging accountability. But one thing was clear, morning TV would never be the same. Asterisk, within hours, PR teams were in full crisis mode. ABC released a brief statement expressing regret that the interview took an unexpected turn and emphasizing their commitment to journalistic integrity. Blake's camp, meanwhile, issued a carefully worded response. Mr. Shelton values open conversation, but will not participate in ambush-style interviews that misrepresent his character or values. George, in an internal meeting with ABC executives, reportedly stood by his line of questioning, arguing that celebrity culture should not exempt anyone from scrutiny. Robin was said to be furious, privately telling colleagues that the incident had undermined years of carefully built trust with celebrity guests. Viewership spiked that day, but producers knew the long-term fallout could be severe. A-list artists might now avoid the show, fearing hostile exchanges, and Blake was already using the moment to his advantage, posting a cryptic tweet, "Country boys walk out. They don't back down." Days later, Blake appeared on a rival network's late-night program, where the host asked bluntly, "Did you plan to walk out?" Blake shook his head. "I'm not into drama," he said, "but I'm not going to sit there and be made into some kind of villain because I sing about dirt roads instead of debates." The audience roared in approval. Meanwhile, George was invited to discuss the incident on a media ethics podcast. It wasn't about politics, he claimed. It was about public responsibility. When someone with a platform says inflammatory things, they should expect questions. But even some journalists pushed back, saying his tone had been needlessly confrontational. Online, the debate raged. Was George right to challenge Blake? Was Blake right to walk off? The incident had struck a chord, not just about celebrity interviews, but about the growing chasm between mainstream media and middle America. Blake's team capitalized on the momentum. His album sales surged. Tickets to his tour sold out faster than expected, and he gained thousands of new followers. His next concert opened with a tongue-in-cheek video montage, grainy footage of his walk-off, edited with cowboy music and a slow-motion mic drop. Fans screamed in delight. T-shirts with "I Walked with Blake" printed across the chest became bestsellers at merchandise stands. The incident had transformed him from just another country singer into a symbol, a defiant voice for fans who felt mocked or misunderstood by polished media personalities. For Blake, it was lightning in a bottle, and he knew it. They wanted a viral moment, he told a cheering crowd. Well, they got one. Behind closed doors, however, ABC was in turmoil. Internal reviews were launched. Executives questioned the editorial process, asking why the interview had been approved without stronger guardrails. George refused to apologize, but sources claimed he was quietly told to pull back on future celebrity interviews. Robin, now caught between loyalty and frustration, began stepping into more primary host duties. Other stars began rescheduling or canceling GMA appearances. One major pop star allegedly told their team, "I'm not risking a Blake repeat." Even advertisers took notice, with one sponsor pulling their mid-show slot the following week. Citing viewer backlash, it became clear the fallout was far from over. As the weeks rolled on, the moment became immortalized. Memes circulated of Blake, photoshopped onto iconic walkouts from movies to political rallies. Comedy shows reenacted the moment with exaggerated Southern accents and uptight newscasters. Yet beneath the humor, the core debate remained potent. Who owns the narrative? The celebrity or the host? The artist or the journalist? Blake, now rebranding himself as unapologetically real, leaned into the chaos. He launched a podcast titled "No Mic Required," where he spoke with other artists about media pressure, cancel culture, and authenticity. The first guest, a rock starhood, once stormed off a radio interview. "You inspired me, man," he told Blake. "Sometimes you just gotta stand up and go." Months later, as both men resumed their careers, the tension remained unspoken but undeniable. George avoided mentioning Blake publicly, and Blake did the same. Yet every time a live interview began, viewers wondered, will it happen again? The walkout became legend, a symbol of defiance, miscommunication, and the combustible chemistry of live TV. Some said it exposed deeper cultural fractures. Others said it was just good television. Either way, the message was clear. In an age of scripted PR and polished sound bites, nothing captivates like an unscripted exit. Blake Shelton walked off GMA that day, but in doing so, he walked straight into media history. Blake's walkout was now being taught in journalism schools. As a case study in live broadcast risk management, professors dissected the moment frame by frame, showing how a subtle eye twitch from George signaled impatience, or how Robin's body language became increasingly anxious. This is what happens, one media analyst said A&R, when two cultural titans refused to give an inch. Even late-night comedians couldn't get enough. One skit reimagined the event as a Western duel, complete with tumbleweeds rolling across the studio floor as George and Blake squared off at dawn. But what none of them saw coming was what Blake would do next: release a single titled "Mic Drop" in Manhattan, directly referencing the incident. The cover art: a silhouette of Blake walking off a brightly lit stage, middle finger resting on his belt buckle. It was less about music now, and more about messaging. He wasn't just doubling down, he was claiming the moment entirely.